Hello, I am Larry the Batman fan, and I'm back with another video. Today, we are going to be doing an ASMR video. We will be talking about video games, of course. That is the main reason for you watching this channel, except that I am whispering right now. Yes. So, have anybody played Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4? It's a really good game. It went on to make a sequel. The sequel is on PlayStation 4, but it is also on PlayStation 5. That was Miles Morales. And that game is also good too. Yes. And it didn't stop there, because they went on to make another game, Spider-Man 2, which I did not buy when it first came out. I did not want to pay $70 for that game. So I decided to wait. I waited like a year. And then I picked it up for $20 off DJ Buys and Sells. Although a little bit of shipping. So we'll say $27. Got me a copy on PlayStation 5. No, I haven't played it yet, because I have a lot of backlog to catch up to. And my PlayStation 5 currently has no space on it for games. So I have got to get the 1 terabyte installed into the PlayStation 5 machine. And when that happens, it'll be when I get paid again on Friday. So for now, I just play the original Spider-Man on PlayStation 4. If you guys have watched my video on my top 20 best PlayStation 4 games, or 15, top 15, I forget which it was. It was either a 15 or a 20. I did mention Spider-Man for PlayStation 4 in that video there. It was really, really good. You should check out that video if you have not seen that video. There were other games that I had mentioned in that collection of best PlayStation 4 games. I mentioned Infamous Second Son, Infamous Second Son, Infamous Second Son. I mentioned Infamous Second Son in there. That's a good game that doesn't get enough recognition. It's really good. I also mentioned Past Cure, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Rise of the Tomb Raider was also in there. And there were some other ones that I mentioned. Gravity Rush 2 was in there as well, because it was a really fun game. The only thing that sucks, they didn't put the sequel on the PS Vita, which they should have done. That would have made a lot more sense. The PlayStation 4 has tons of great games. The Last of Us Remastered is a good game on the PlayStation 4. Uncharted 4 and Uncharted The Lost Legacy are also great games for the PlayStation 4. You wouldn't be disappointed if you picked up a PS4 in 2026. You could get one for $200 off of eBay, and it's only $250 or less, but it depends if it comes with games or not. If you get it without games, you could easily pick one up for $140 today, which isn't a bad deal considering the fact when it first came out. I got mine in 2014. I had to pay $437 for it from GameStop, which was a lot of money. And the only games that I had for it for a long time was Killzone 4, Shadowfall, and Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts. And Killzone 4, Shadowfall. Killzone 4, Shadowfall. Killzone 4, Shadowfall. Because there weren't that many games that I wanted around that time. There were a lot of sports games. I do not like sports games very much. So that is why I just got those two games. I did not have enough to buy Call of Duty, so Mom paid for it, and I reimbursed her the money. The money for Call of Duty Ghosts. Yes, I did. I remember some other memories of getting a console. When I wanted the original Xbox back in 2004 or 2005. I went to GameStop. Back then it was EB Games. And I had $70 on my card that I got for trading in my NES and games and my N64 and the 12 games I had for that. I got actually it was $71, which seems sucky compared to what it was. It probably should have been at least 100. But back then, there was only GameStop, EB Games, and there was Game Crazy. Those were the only two game stores around when I was a kid. There was no Pastime Legends. There was no Mr. Deals. There was no Game Exchange. And there was no Vortex Video Games. So I went to EB Games and traded in a bunch of stuff a month before I decided to get an Xbox. And then when I decided to get one, I went back thinking I had enough. I was a fucking idiot. I did not have enough. I did not have enough, guys. I only had $71. I brought my change and saved allowance with me. So I had a total of $101. I thought that would be enough, but when I went there, they said $130 for a used one, or $170 for a brand new one. I did not have the full amount, but thankfully, my mom got it for me. She paid the difference, but I did not get the allowance for like a month and a half or a month. My allowance was only $10. What was nice though, they said you can get a free game with the console since it's refurbished. but it has to be $9 or less. $9 or less. $9 or less. So I picked out a game. There were not many choices for $9 or less. Most of them were 15, 20, 30, and $40 for used games. Original Xbox. They had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X for $7.99. They had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for $7. It was $1 cheaper than 2X. Didn't make a lot of sense to me because 2X was basically just an add-on from the PlayStation, Sega Dreamcast, and the N64 versions. Which I already had the second one on N64. But I did not currently have it anymore since I traded it in. So I had only the PS2 at home. Wanting to get the original Xbox in 2005. I searched the shelf of the Xbox section at EB Games, and they had the Lord of the Rings game, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and they had the Return of the King. But the Fellowship of the Ring being the shittiest out of all three. I did not pick up any of those that day, and the Return of the King was the most expensive at the time. That was $34.99. The Two Towers was a $20, and Fellowship of the Ring was $10. It said only $9. So I kept looking, and I picked out Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. They did have some sports games there. Boxing, fight night, hockey, and they had basketball and a baseball game or two for under $9. World Series Baseball 2K3, I think is what it was. But I did not want those because I, as a kid, did not really like sports games. I still do not like the sports games very much, but I loved Tony Hawk and the Mario sports games. So I got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I got it, and it was in that range, $7. So I got it for free. Yes, that was the only game I had for the original Xbox for about 2 months or so, or a month and a half. And then I went to Game Crazy on Central Ave, which is now a street game, which is a shoe store for men and women. But back in the day, it was a Game Crazy with a Hollywood Video, and they sold games. And I went in there with my allowance. There were not many games for $20 or less. I saw a Zurich in there. I saw Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. I also saw Call of Duty and Spider-Man in there. And they were all affordable for the original Xbox. And there were other titles there, but they were too much money. Sonic Riders, Sonic Mega Collection Plus, totaled 187 Ride or Die, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, Burnout 3, and many, many other games such as Halo 2. But there were only a couple of games for under $20. And I saw they had Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and I thought it looked like a good game. So I went ahead and I bought that game that day. But I also bought a game called Sega GT 2002, and it had Jet Set Radio Future with it, and it was only $5. And I bought Dave Mirra's Freestyle BMX 2, and I was $2 or $3 over that price. But I had store credit. I had $10 of store credit. So I got all three of those games that day. I did not really like Sega GT 2002, but on that same disc, there was Jet Set Radio Future, and that game was a lot of fun. I also really liked Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. That was a pretty good game. It was a good game. It was a very good game. It played very similar to Tony Hawk, except for being on a bicycle. Go ahead, Miles. You may leave. But when it came to the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, I cower in fear because that game was dreadful. That game was awful. It was a terrible, terrible game. And it was released on the PS2 and the original Xbox. I played the original Xbox version, and I absolutely did not like that game. I hated it. It was awful. I wish I had bought something else. I popped that sucker in. I played it for about an hour, and that's all I could take. I could not get very far in that game, but it sucked tremendously. It was slow paced. You played as Frodo or Sam in the game, and you went through the levels smashing boxes and talking to people who give you useless information. It was not a good game. It made me want to pull my hair out. That game was horrible. And plus, if you get further in the game, you get into a town. There's mission objectives that you have to do, but none of them are fun. None of them are fun. None of them are fun. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, though, that was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was the third installment in the Tony Hawk franchise. And it was a pretty good game overall, I'd have to say. It had the same premise as the second game. It still had a time limit, but it wasn't annoying. Time limits just don't work in racing games. But in a sports game like that, a skateboarding game, it could still work. It shows that you have the skills to get a 6 score of 75,000 within 2 minutes. That's skill. So it wasn't annoying. like it would be in a racing game.
Yeah. Okay, coming down.
That is a good game where you skate around, you do tricks and combos, and it is a lot of fun. It was available on PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Nintendo GameCube. It was a lot of fun, and you can get that game currently off eBay. The PS2 version is $15. If you see some for 40 or 50 on eBay, do not pay that. They are scalpers. They are trying to rip you off. Also, give Sega GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio Future on the original Xbox a try. It's a good game. And Dave Bear Freestyle BMX 2. Whether you get it on the PS2, Xbox, or GameCube, it's still a great sports game to buy. But, my friends, do not buy Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring on PS2 or Xbox. It was not available on the Nintendo GameCube. Nintendo GameCube was spared that atrocity. Thank God. But the other two consoles suffered from that game. If you are going to buy a good licensed game on the PS2, Xbox, or GameCube, get Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 1, but preferably Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2. Other good licensed games on PS2 or Xbox, King Kong and the Chronicles of Riddick, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Very good, very good, very good, very good. But stay away from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. It is garbage. Well, my friends, I got to get going. I got to go eat now. I will catch you later. I hope you enjoyed. Larry the Batman fans. ASMR. You be good, or Batman will come for you and whoop your butt. Behave and sleep well. Sleep well. Sleep well.